Infusionsoft's Eric Martineau, and Cooper Smith from Business Insider. Welcome, panel.
Thank you and welcome to today's panel on CRM. And so who we have today, we have Lisa, who's the CEO of Rebel Systems, and Josh Reeves, CEO of Gusto, formerly known as Zen Payroll, and then Eric, co-founder of Infusionsoft. And when we talk about CRM, customer relationship management, a lot of people think of it in terms of different definitions, but in its most basic term, what we're talking about here today is the collection and analysis of customers' data, and companies' data, excuse me. And so real quickly, I just wanted to run through the panel, and if you guys could just spend a minute giving everyone a quick brief of what exactly you guys do and how you fit in the CRM system.
Okay, so I'll start. I'm with Infusionsoft. We are a CRM and email marketing company. We sell product to companies that have 50 employees and under, and our product is customer relationship management. We help people with email marketing, and then there's also an e-commerce component so people can sell online. We've been around for almost 15 years.
Awesome. My name's Josh. I run a company called Gusto, and we help small businesses with things like payroll, health insurance, workers' comp, HR. We started 4 years ago. We're across the whole country helping bakeries, flower shops, cafes, churches, you name it, companies of all stripes. And we're based in San Francisco and Denver, Colorado.
I'm Lisa Falzone, started Rebel Systems in 2010, and we're the leading iPad point of sale solution for high volume single store locations and chains and franchises. And we focus on business intelligence, customer analytics, and the whole back office of the suite.
Great. And so as you can see, all of these companies are approaching CRM from a very different perspective. They're using different methods to collect data, and they're using it for different types of customers. They operate in different verticals. So which different, seemingly data is being collected everywhere now, right? Whether it's a POS system, or whether it's via email, or whether it's via payroll. And so which channels and which different methods of data collection are you guys most excited about going forward?
I'll take that actually. So when we started our company 15 years ago, we had a brilliant idea, which turned out to be not very brilliant, but it was to build a system where all the data was in one place. So we would have customer data, we would have all their purchase information, we'd have the email marketing system. And for a period that worked, but what we found is over the last 4 to 5 years, we've seen this explosion of technology where a small business that's starting can reach out for thousands of different solutions to run their business, and so it's just not practical to keep all the data in one place. So what we've seen is more of an evolution towards not becoming the system of record, but rather building integrations where we can retrieve data from other systems that small businesses are using to try to make sense of it.
Yeah, and for us, I think, I'll quote Ben Parker from Spider-Man, if anyone's a fan, but with great power comes great responsibility. We never had a beta or pilot, because what we do is process billions of dollars of tax payments. We set up people with health insurance for their children, their loved ones. We file all the documents, millions of forms, all the different requirements at local, state, federal level. This is all customer data. So we take that responsibility very seriously, and in many ways, one of the main ways we can help our customers is by making sure they don't have to be experts on the specific tax rules or specific requirements. Whenever you hire an employee, I usually make the analogy, if you guys use Gmail, you don't have to know how SMTP or IMAP work to send a message to someone. When you hire an employee to your company, you shouldn't have to know all the tax rules and insurance requirements to go welcome them into your organization. But I think that security piece is very, very important. I think we'll probably talk about it later.
Yeah, so when we started Rebel, we just really wanted to solve a problem of legacy point of sale. I mean, the nickname of legacy point of sale is piece of shit. And so we really wanted to resolve that problem. And so really what we're doing is bringing Web 2.0 into brick and mortar shops. And through that, realized oh my gosh, like we have so much data and so much customer data that is really, really helpful, and we can track it across multiple shops. And so really, I'm really excited, kind of the next wave of Revel is kind of bringing that Amazon-like customer information to the brick and mortar shops and helping the SMBs compete against the Amazons of the world.
So Josh started to touch on security there, and I think that's a really important topic. Anytime we're talking about data, consumers these days, they want to know how is their data being collected, what type of data is being collected, how is it being used. Do you think that these are valid concerns from your customers, and how do you manage customers' expectations when it comes to privacy and security?
Yeah, well, so we went through a period where we grew to a point where we had to become more compliant. People started asking us, "Hey, are you guys PCI compliant?" And we went through the process of putting the systems in place for collecting data that would make us compliant with these various organizations. What I found is in a lot of cases, I don't think those even necessarily go far enough. I think it's super important when it comes to privacy and data that if we're collecting a huge amount of data, that we're being good stewards of it.
Yeah, I think many of you guys might be entrepreneurs or hoping to start companies. I think a lot of it is just being deliberate and intentional. There are no shortcuts. In our space, we're a compliance-centric business, so I think there's a lot of good best-of-breed kind of best practices around encryption and how you approach storing various transaction information, and you want to make that obviously a core part of whatever you build. At the same time, I think the fun discussion that doesn't come up a lot when people talk about data is that it is about people. Like at the end of the day, our businesses are all about helping our customers be successful. Like I live and breathe all of these small businesses around the country, and they send us emails and notes, and that's why we care. And it's this community of employees, employers working together, trying to build their companies. And so I think that's something I talk a lot about with the team, is not just obviously the importance of security and data, but then not forgetting the fact that these are human interactions we're having. And in the context of CRM, it's the customer really at the center point, and that's a debate that's lost. I think in Silicon Valley especially, people discuss, are they engineering-driven, sales-driven, product-driven, marketing-driven? Gusto, we are customer-driven.
Lisa?
Yeah, I'm actually surprised. So in our terms and conditions, we always put, and it's in bold, we have access to the data. Like we would never use individual data, just in aggregate. And I'm actually surprised that not very many people care. And people just don't, I mean, maybe 0.001% of our sales that come on board might raise an issue with it. But it's amazing to me how people really don't care. So.
Now, it's a little bit of what I was getting at is I think people are lax with their data. They don't care until something bad happens. You wake up and you wake up and it hits the news like so-and-so got hacked and 10 million customers' sensitive data got online. Well, all of a sudden that person who was happy to click through a screen and said, yeah, you can access all my data, they're going to care that morning when they wake up and their data's been compromised.
Yeah, no, I was talking, security and I think data is two different aspects. So, but what I was talking about was basically customer data and like what was actually happening in the store. And then security, obviously, in point of sale, extremely important. People definitely care about that for sure.
So security, big data, it's obviously a big part of what you guys do. And just like any sector, there's different points of competition. You compete with your customers on different levels. So for entrepreneurs out there that want to get in the CRM space, what are the areas that you think a smaller CRM company can compete on with some of these larger players out there that can help them differentiate themselves from players already in the market? Is it becoming vertically integrated in a particular sector? Is it better integration with other systems like email or retention reporting metrics? What sort of advice would you give CRM companies out there?
Yeah, I think it's an amazing time. Most of the companies here were focused on smaller businesses. if you look at any of these categories, I mean, look at payroll, health insurance, a lot of folks today do it on pen and paper. Every year, a third of companies get fined for incorrectly doing their payroll taxes in the US, which is kind of crazy if you think about it. So from thinking about where to focus, I think the advantage any startup has is always the ability to think from first principles and not be caught up with the legacy approach. You know, the best analogy I can make is if you ask someone 125 years ago what they wanted to have a faster horse. In reality, they wanted to move faster, and someone had to invent a car. So I wouldn't get overly worried if you're thinking about an Oracle or SAP. If you're taking the same approach, building the same type of product, that's an evolutionary approach. And if it's a better, faster, cheaper version, that might be very hard. But if it's something that's never existed or never been done that way, then you're probably on to the right path. So if it makes a lot of sense, it seems really clear cut, that's usually, I think, a pitfall because it's still existing within the context of what's been done. You kind of have to, in some ways, detach and think about how could it be done? And that to me is the genesis of a truly disruptive startup.
Yeah, I mean, I think as far as for a B2B company, for us, what's been successful and what I would give advice to is really listening to your customers. There's so many problems out there to resolve, especially in the SMB space, you know, the SAPs of the world, the Oracles of the world, Salesforce. You know, these you know, larger B2B companies just completely miss. Just go out and start talking to different businesses, find out what their pain points are, and there's so much opportunity to resolve.
Yeah, I would say there's a huge opportunity when you get in the under 10 employee space. I don't feel like that market's necessarily been tapped. And I think that if there was a big problem that I feel like is begging to be solved, it's a problem that under 10 employee space has in managing multiple systems. And like a quick anecdote to illustrate it, my brother-in-law, he's a welder, and he wants to weld. He doesn't want to become a marketing expert. He doesn't want to become a tax expert. He just wants to make bumpers. Well, on a daily basis, he'll get a buzz on his phone. He'll pull out and he'll get an email from a customer that says, "Hey, I have a question about my order." Right? It's a very basic. This is a basic CRM problem, and for him, he has to log out of his email, go into his order tracking system, which doesn't run on his phone. He has to go to the back office, type in the customer's name, look up the order details. And so for this customer, the information he needs to manage the relationship is in 5 different places. He can't afford to pay somebody to go bring the data into one place. And so he's kind of stuck in this world where his day-to-day flow is really fragmented. So if there were a big problem that I think is begging to be solved in the CRM space, it would be that.
And the other thing I would add is, I think a word I use a lot is authenticity. So we can talk about markets and opportunities, but to Lisa's example, I think there has to be some connection. I mean, for us, we had all run prior businesses, had used other systems. We have 3 co-founders, and each of us had family that had run, you know, a small clothing store, a small doctor's office. We had grown up a little bit with exposure to that pain and frustration. So the tip I always make is, you know, to imagine it's the 10,000th time you're describing what you're doing. Will you be as authentic and excited and sincere as the first time? And if not, it'll be hard to fake it at that point. Like, I love what I do because what our product does is literally, like, whenever you hire someone, you know, that first day on the job, we're like a part of making that wonderful. And so there's all these really cool things that excite me and make what I do feel like not a job anymore, but just a part of my life. I think that's a key ingredient if you're on a mission as an entrepreneur to really solve a problem you care about.
That's great advice, guys, for companies in the CRM space. And continuing on this theme of, you know, for giving people advice out there, let's talk about just general advice of startups. You know, a lot of people here are entrepreneurs. They want to hear from, you know, up and coming tech companies. It's not always easy, right? There's growing pains. And Josh, backstage, you were telling me a story about a name change that Gusto went through. Can you tell the audience about that and the growing pains? If you guys have any advice or examples of your own companies when they were up and coming, if there were any moments where you feel like if someone had told you that you could have maybe gotten around that?
Yeah, I mean, I sometimes joke, you know, we're Gusto, we love our name. I mean, names are just vessels. You have to fill it with meaning by serving your customer well. But I joke that we're Gusto, the artist formerly known as Send Payroll, which was a name we had in the first few years of our company. And, you know, you can't be perfect. We chose that name. It was a temporary name. because we had a few days. It was $7 on GoDaddy, and it was a great name for us in the first few years. Now, in terms of what we're doing, which is this broader people system that does a lot of different things, whenever you hire someone, you want to make that easy. Payroll, health insurance, HR, etc. Zen Payroll, that name had a limitation because the word payroll has an existing definition. I mean, ADP stands for Automated Data Processing, which is a very impersonal, I think, way of treating a human being. And so we knew that we were going to change our name. We went through a lot of research, made the name change to Gusto, and it's been a great transition. We have to be really thorough. I mean, the day we did it, we had the whole company. We're about 300 Gustonauts, we call ourselves, in the company, calling customers every day for a few days to just give them a quick courtesy call. So I think it's maybe the lesson there is not wanting to be perfect across the board, but choosing what's important to you. And in this case, we knew that it was going to be important for our future to have a name that embodied who we are, and then doing it when the time was right.
Eric?
Yeah, so what I would say is don't be intimidated, and obviously don't give up. I remember one time, this was early in my career, we were building a CRM product, and I made the mistake of, I logged into a competitor's product. It was NetSuite. And I remember logging in and thinking, holy crap, look at this product that they have. It's so awesome. Our product sucks. I hate our product. I want to give up. And there was a part of me that wanted to shut down in that instant because I felt so overwhelmed by what the competition was doing. And the reality is that there's no reason to be intimidated by that. And now we're 15 years later, we've had our struggles like everybody else. I think both of these panelists can tell you similar stories of where they felt kind of defeated. But our company, 15 years later, we're I think we did almost 100 million last year, and a lot of that's just by having the confidence in what you're doing and not getting distracted by what other people are doing.
Lisa, anything to add real quickly?
Yeah, no, I think you guys both had great points. Also, just to echo what Josh was saying earlier, I mean, you've got to there's so many challenges and there's so many ups and downs that you've really got to believe. And also and when you look at the longevity of it, which is something I didn't really realize. I've been doing my company for 5 years. It takes a while to build. So you're looking at, at minimum, 10 years to build on average a $1 billion company if you want to build a large company. And so I just think it's really important to really believe in your mission and believe that you're changing, and believe in that you're changing the world and believe in something greater because that will help you get through the hard times.
And one more piece of advice to add to that is take time for introspection. I think if you're building a long-term company, I hope to spend the rest of my life building Gusto. In school, you have a structure with quarter semesters to think about what you liked and didn't like in a class. In life, you can have 20 years pass by and not decide if, hey, do I like what I'm doing? So whether it's quarterly, yearly, weekly, at Gusto, we buy everyone on their 1-year anniversary a free plane ticket anywhere in the world as a way to try to encourage them to take a step back and be introspective. But whatever structure you can create to take that step back. Startup life is very busy, frenetic. There's always a million things to do, and it's really valuable to think about, are you spending your time on the most important thing?
Great. That's all the time we have for today. Thank you to our wonderful panelists, and if anyone would like a moment or two with our panelists, I'm sure you'll see them around the conference. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.